Hi, I'm so glad that you made it. I'm here today so that we can have a conversation about courageous aging and where we find the strength and the courage, the faith, the patience, the self compassion that's needed to make the best possible years of this time, of this season of our lives. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I want you to know just by showing up, you get an A++ in this class. Showing up is half the problem and half the challenge and half the way there. Showing up to be able to do a little bit of reflection, a little bit of looking inside. I call it an aging audit, where we stop. We stop everything else. We tune out the noise and we look inside our own lives and we ask ourselves, hey, buddy, you're getting a little older. How are you doing with this? How's this working out for you? What are the voices in your head saying? Maybe there's a voice over here saying, look at you. You're not anything like the younger version of you. You've slowed down. You got some aches and pains. The future is uncertain. You've made it through the COVID year. But I don't know. I don't know about you. And maybe you have another voice talking from the other side that says, you know what? You are the better version of you. As you've gotten older, you've ripened. You're not as concerned about how things look and people's approval. You've become vital and vibrant. You're using this season of your life to create a whole new future. You've reimagined the future. And you know what? You look beautiful to me. You're doing great, Ken. Which conversation is playing in your heart and in your head? So in this phase one, we're asking these questions. How am I doing? How is getting older working out for me? Maybe in all of our lives, there are challenges, physical challenges. Maybe our bodies are wearing down. I played competitive soccer for so many years, and I've got some hard miles on my knees. Well, I needed a knee replacement. And that was a challenge. How is it working for you? Physically, spiritually. Spiritually, we have so much going on. We're getting older. We have to deal with the idea that life is kind of a lease deal. There's impermanence involved. And how do we feel about that? Maybe we're retiring and we're moving towards retirement, and our identity has been bound up in our job, or our kids, our family, our community, some activity, and we're kind of aging out of that activity and struggling, having trouble letting go and having trouble looking forward and saying, who am I now? What am I now? What value do I have now? And looking for purpose and a sense of meaning. What's my life right now? And these are the kind of questions we ask about our physical being, our emotional and spiritual, psychological being. And then there's the practical, logistical issues in our lives. How have we put our house in order? Is it time to move out of the family house? Is it time to retire? Is it a time of loss, where some of the people that we've had around us our entire lives have moved on, have passed, and we're grieving, and we've never had to deal with these kinds of feelings of sorrow, or to give sorrow a voice in a way that allows us to go on with our own lives and to make the rest of our days as meaningful, as full, and as full of joy and purpose and meaning as possible. So these are the challenges that we want to take inventory of. And step one is, let's take inventory. Let's look at, how am I doing on all these counts and other counts? Also, another area is, how am I doing in terms of leaving a legacy of love? Many of us are realizing, my God, there's going to be a time beyond my life where the people I love and the things that I value are going to go on. Have I put myself in a position to pay all the good, the blessings, the gifts, the opportunities in my life the things that I've enjoyed, have I put myself in a position to pay that forward? To make sure as best as possible that my kids, my grandkids, future generations, our society, our very planet Earth is going to be in shape to enjoy some of these same gifts. So there's putting our house in order on all these different tracks. And we take inventory in this time of life because we don't know what's ahead. We don't know what's around the corner. And just like, sometimes I tell people in the work that I do, I often work with people who are really facing their last months, years of life. And we talk about what it means to have your bags packed. And what it means is that it's kind of like buying life insurance. You don't buy life insurance to die. You don't buy life insurance and say, all right, now I can die. No, you buy life insurance so that you say, I want to live the rest of my days at peace. I want quality. I have so much more living to do. I have all these wonderful things, these experiences I've accrued. This passion that I have and this new passion in this time of life. The relationships that I'm more able to express love in and receive love from than ever before. I have one of the most exciting times of my life, and I want to live every moment, every hour, every day of it. But in order to do that, I need to make peace with some things. I need to let go of some things. Some of us are still grieving, and these are the things that we need to realize as we do this assessment. What's holding me back? What's weighing so heavily on my heart that it's weighing me down and holding me back? And what are those things, which we'll ask in a minute, that make my heart sing? The things that make me look forward with such enthusiasm and excitement, the adventures yet to come in my life, in my time. And one of the things that holds us back is that we're grieving the loss of our younger self. We keep looking back. We keep looking back and comparing everything to what we had, who we were, what was, who was there. Instead of grieving that time and saying, that time has passed, it's time to let go. Instead of learning how to let go, to release those things. And not just the glory and the triumphs and the good times, but to release some of the wounds, some of the setbacks, some of the difficult times. Right now we're in a position where we're putting a horrendous year of COVID, where I would only be able to talk to you through this screen because I would be one droplet away from you infecting me or me infecting you with something that could end our life. How are we adjusting from that time? And how you adjust from the hard times of your life, the setbacks, the disappointments, the losses, the great challenges, the periods of adversity. How you do that is so critically important. And of course, one of the most important things to do, to let go, is to air out, to tell our story, to share with a trusted confidant what has happened in our lives. Why are friends so important at this time of life? Why are people that we can trust? Why are adult relationships with our children so important at this time? Why is this an important time if we are blessed to have a companion and a spouse in our life? Why is it so important to entrust in them some of our deepest thoughts and feelings? Because it's time to air out and let go of some things. And the best way to do that is to get it out of our heads, out of our hearts, to breathe out some of that heaviness and to share it with others. And we might even learn in the process that we're not the only people who've gone through this, that this is a part of life, facing, meeting, overcoming this kind of adversity, letting go of that painful past or those challenging times or those wounds and disappointments, those betrayals, transgressions, whatever it is, it's time to let go. Because when we do that, we clear the path forward. And the next step is to reimagine. We have this extraordinary capacity as human beings to imagine, to take thinking experimental steps into the future through our imagination. We can imagine ourselves being happy, finding peace, doing the things that make our hearts sing, being creative, being irreverent, being vital, but living fully. We can imagine that, just as we can imagine, and sometimes some of us get stuck in the imaginings of the worst case. It's like, oh my God, the oh my gods, because we're imagining all the bad things that are going to happen, all the bad things to come. And all we can see in that view of the future is our losses, our setbacks, our disappointments, which of course a steady diet of that kind of thinking is going to land us in despair, in hopelessness. So using our imagination, reimagining our best possible future, and then even writing it down or cutting out pictures and putting them on a board of me, here's me in my best possible future. Now for me, one of the things that's going on recently is that during the COVID period, I fell in love, unconditional love, with Ben and Jerry. Ben and Jerry were always in my freezer. Certain kind of ice cream, and every night they never said no. I'd go in there, they never said no, and they'd say, hey, it's been a hard day, you're shut up inside here, you're limited, you can't go out, the world's falling apart, have some. And I did. So what happened to me, has happened to lots of people, is I gained that COVID-20. So one of my best possible future images, the vision I have set for myself going forward, is that I'm going to do the things necessary to begin dropping that weight. And I've already started, and it feels so good, and my knees are so happy, and it's so much easier for me to move around. And that's my goal. What's yours? What would be a wonderful goal for you in your reimaginings as you get older? And you can do it in short increments. What's your goal for the week? You might have something important coming up this week. It's the beginning of summer. It's the beginning of something important. You have guests coming in. You're trying to the world is reopening and you're considering, how am I going to go out? What's a good vision for yourself for the summer? And let's expand that. What's a good vision for yourself for the next year? The next couple of years? What would be a wonderful and worthy goal for you that would make you so happy to move forward into the days of your life? Because when we reimagine, it gives us a path forward, and we've cleared the path forward to move now. Now we got to take action. We got to figure out, what is the critical path to me achieving that? And one of the great achievements, let's talk about a couple of tracks in which we can achieve things. One of them is our relationships. Can you think of anything more worthy than making our relationships the best that they can be? Making them even better than we ever imagined. Being closer, more deeply connected, more patient, forgiving, understanding, and clear with the people that we love, the people closest to us. Cherished friends, family members. In my case, one of the dark gifts of the COVID year is that my daughter and her husband couldn't have a nanny because of their concerns about COVID and somebody going home and coming back and going home and coming back, and they wanted to protect their little babies. So guess who got to be the 9/11 grandpa? Guess who got to be the nanny, the grandpa nanny? I got the opportunity to really draw close to my grandsons. I've gotten to know them so well. It is an amazing joy. It was a gift of all the challenges and adversities of this last year. One of the gifts for me. And you may be thinking about some of the gifts you had that you found in this dark period, in this confusing and limiting period. So what is ahead is what we imagine and decide. It's not waiting for us necessarily somebody's going to walk up and tell us what it is, but we can imagine it. And we can look around and see people who are doing things very much like what we'd like to be doing. You know, I just got my notice about all the programs in Oasis this year. My goodness, the world has, talk about reopening. The world has opened all the possibilities that the Oasis program is creating in our community for us to thrive, for us to take adventures, for us to go into areas, do things we never even thought we'd do, things we didn't even know we'd be interested in, things we've been waiting for years to learn about or to experience. So the world is waiting, and the world, thank goodness, in our part of it is opening. And while our hearts go out and our best efforts go out to other parts of the world that are still suffering horribly, and while we're cautious in the way we proceed and the way we go back out into the world, that we still follow things that make 100% sense, we still live on the edge of caution, that we can begin to think about making these years ahead some of our best ever. Now, aging and courageous aging, and I'm thinking, you know, we talked about the courage and strength to live well. What it means to live well is to begin to meet and face into some of our greatest challenges and adversities. You know, if somebody said to you, well, you know, just handle it. Just handle it. And if we've spent a lifetime kind of sidestepping, it's like, okay, I'm going to avoid that. Then this is a time to summon newfound strength and courage and faith and understanding, and to expand, not to contract as we get older and become the smaller, protected version of ourselves, but to take that deep breath and expand, and to find within ourselves that we have the ability to summon, to call forth from within ourselves newfound strength and courage. Every season of our life, everything we've ever done or accomplished required us to summon newfound strength and courage and faith, and to consider the greater possibilities. Well, here we are again. And often we're at this time of life, if we follow the script, unfortunately, we do not live in a society that is literate in vital aging. You know, we don't go to classes or look around and say, oh, vital aging, you know, that's the script. That's what we're all made for. That's what we're built to do. No, we have many things that will tell you, hey, buddy, you're on the back nine. Or you're in fade mode. You're over. You've aged out. Bye-bye. And encourage us to shut down and contract. Well, we've got to opt out of that line of thinking. Vital aging is embracing and summoning and calling forth in ourselves our sense of adventure, our sense of possibility, our sense of playfulness, our sense of irreverence, our sense of whatever is within us that wants to be awakened and wants to go out into the world. So we talked about how we can do that in our relationships. How about in our communities? What could we be doing in our communities with everything we know now, everything we've experienced, everything we're aware of is needed in our community, in our country right now, which is facing one of its greatest challenges in all the years of its existence. What's needed right now? Well, we have an opportunity to contribute, to be part of a community, a part of efforts, part of volunteering, part of calling forth in ourselves our sense of service, that we can do something to make somebody else's life a little bit better, make their landing a little bit softer. There are so many people in need in our community. Well, call forth the part of you that would take such satisfaction from giving yourself, your time, your energy, your resources in service to people who are struggling more than you, who need your support and help and love. So we can put ourselves out in our relationships with a generosity of heart. We can do it in our communities. We can do it in our country, for that matter. And it's also a time to look at, what do I have that I could pay forward? When I talk about leaving a legacy of love, what is it that I most have to share and to give? So this can also be a time of saying to the people you love or to future generations what it is that you most value, what it is that you most wish for them. I know people who've written letters of acknowledgement and congratulations to their grandchildren whose weddings they will never be at. But they've written the wedding gift, and they've written everything they know about what makes relationships work, what makes relationships succeed, what makes relationships the cherished companionships that they can be. And they write it out, and they give it, they put it in keeping now, because they know that at some point in the future, that's what they want to pay forward. What is it that you would wish to pay forward? And can you do it now? Can you do something now that best ensures that that gift will be given? That you left this life having given everything you had to give away in good faith, in good spirit, in generosity, and that you are creating that legacy of love. Look, none of us knows with 100% assurance what this life after this life is. And yet, as we go into this mystery, as we go forward into this mystery, and hopefully we're not going to tie up all of the rest of our lives in fear of dying, in dread of getting older as our bodies wear out a little bit, that we think about, what is it? How can I find peace in these final chapters of my life? Because part of vitality is not spinning our wheels and spending time in fear and dread. It's really making and finding peace. And there are so many ways that we can do that. There are so many resources and people that want to also talk about and think about and are searching for this peace as well, so that we can deal with the part of life that every one of us has to face, the fact that it comes to an end. Life as we know it comes to an end. How do we make peace with that? How do we find peace? How do we allow the fact that this is a great mystery? Here we are soaring through space on something that's not even as big as a grain of sand, in the middle of a vast and expansive universe, and in the middle of all these unknowns. How can we find peace? How can we make peace with the fact that this is just part of the deal? And there are so many resources, whether they're in our churches or synagogues, in temples, whether they're in the things we read, whether they're in the classes we take at Oasis, whether they're in a conversation with friends who are also talking about and thinking about the mystery of this life and wanting to bless this life, bless what they had in this life, and kind of savor what they've had and end up in a place of gratitude, not in a place of kicking and screaming as we move on into the great beyond. So all of these things are part of finding strength and summoning newfound strength and courage. And my prayer for you is that this short conversation that we've been able to have has stirred in you some thoughts about what you can be doing, how you can be investing yourself into your own best possible future. And my prayer for you is that you realize that best possible future in so many ways, in the ways you imagine, and then with a few surprises to boot. And that you live it out, and that you also are contagious in the way you affect other people, because they sense and they feel and they resonate with the vital aging process that you have undergone. I wish you well, and I look forward to meeting you directly instead of in front of a screen when that's possible. And I wish you the best.